And we're back, and our guest on this segment, very interesting gentleman with a very interesting topic. Ted Reeds is his name, and he's on the Preservation Commission in this part of the world, and also serves as a commissioner with that group. Ted, good to have you with us, buddy.
Well, good to be here. Thank you.
A little bit about you. You're an architect. Consequently, you have a trained eye. But a lot of us don't. And what are we looking for in terms of preservation?
Well, in terms of preservation, you're looking to see if the building or the place, because preservation is also about parks. It's about the streetscape as well. Does it fit? Does it have a sense of place? Does it feel comfortable where it is? Do you feel comfortable in approaching it? And then finally, is it really worth going into? Do I want to work in that building? Do I want to sleep in that building? Do I want to buy a candy bar in that building? It would really be nice if all three of those things worked together. But unfortunately, no building is perfect. So the best answer is just participate with it and find out about it. Be curious.
Find a bit of the history of the building. Go back as far as you can.
That's true, and we're really lucky in Tulsa and in Claremore as well, where you have a lot of good architecture. In that, our legacy is that when we did build things starting at the turn of the last century, we did it right. It helped that we had a lot of money from oil, but the thought behind the buildings that the architects brought for their clients they didn't just spring out of the mud. They were from cities like New York and Chicago and Kansas City and St. Louis. They weren't a bunch of hayseeds. And so they brought with them their desire to build a city as they saw it when they were in their youth. Really a more urban approach, if you will, to a city. And we were just really incredibly fortunate to have come together. The people, our forefathers who built it, and some really good architects who built them for them. And to that extent, it has extended to today. We're still doing really good work today.
I've heard one fellow who has been around forever say that Tulsa is almost an Art Deco capital. You agree with that?
Oh, yes. We're really lucky in that part of our first boom, if you will, it was really kind of our 1.5 boom, was Art Deco as we had wealth. And it was the style of the day, particularly zigzag, which was the first instance of Art Deco. Tulsa, as far as I understand it, we're either second or third in the inventory of Art Deco architecture in the country, following, I think it goes Miami Beach, Tulsa, and then Los Angeles.
And there are so many, if you research it, if you really get into it, you find out there are so many talented architects who have made a brush stroke here or lit a candle there or done something to augment or change or enhance the beauty of the town.
Oh yeah, my heroes. My dad was an architect as well, who did a lot of high-end homes. So I grew up around this. I guess I tried to be a lawyer in undergraduate, and then my senior year, I flipped to architecture and ended up getting my degree in that. But I mean, from Frank Lloyd Wright to Bruce Goff, our own hometown hero, who's done a lot of great work, not only in Tulsa, his early work in Tulsa primarily, but all over the country and all over the world, quite frankly. We're to Bruce Graham with Skidmore, Owens, and Merrill, who did really the first, I would say, prototypical Skidmore SOM building for Warren Petroleum on Boulder Avenue, which is really a jewel unto itself. Very mid-century modern, built in 56, but the first of its kind, really built with a full wraparound inset windows for shading in our hot sun, as well as tinted windows. It's really a remarkable piece of architecture. And then, of course, there is the Will Rogers Memorial,
Yeah.
and its architect, who also did the Marlin Mansion. He did a wonderful Art Deco house for himself over by the Tulsa Tennis Club in Tulsa. And his name escapes me now, but it's John Duncan Forsyth is his name. And he did some remarkable work, not just in Tulsa, but around the area as well.
We explore, my family belongs to Boston Avenue Methodist, and we have explored the nooks and crannies of that building repeatedly. And it's interesting, if you take the time to stroll quietly and slowly and really absorb everything that went into it to make it the sort of structure it is. And I mean, my Lord, there are buildings like that all around the town.
Yeah, there are. Boy, you are lucky to be a member of that group. That really is, he was 22 years old when he designed that. He was born in 1904 in
I did
Alta,
not realize
Kansas.
that. 22.
Yeah, he was 22 years old. He had already done, and he did the Spotlight Theater the next year in 27.
Mm-hmm.
He really started designing Boston Avenue in, I think, 27 or 26. It ended up not being built until 29 and 30 for different reasons, mainly fundraising. It was a pretty expensive church, but it's really the beginning of his idea of exploring client use and turning that into a three-dimension. That in his later work at Shinnecoin, in a lot of his homes, the Bavinger House around Norman, the Taylor Ledbetter House in Norman, he really expanded that thought. It is known in the architectural community and worldwide as America's church. I mean, who would have thought of putting a 14-story tower at the corner of 13th in Boston?
Nobody.
Other than a 22-year-old kid who had anything better to do, who, by the way, never had formal architectural education. He merely apprenticed, starting at 12 years old with Rush into Cotton Rush.
You also talk about open spaces. How does that figure into this?
Well, open spaces, and particularly their relationship in an urban environment to the street, it sets up a perspective, if you will. It sets up a view. And so while most cities are set up on a true grid, if you will, it's always good to have either a roundabout thrown in there with a fountain in it, or a park along a river, which we are lucky to have in Tulsa, because what it does is it sets up almost like a scene backdrop, the city. So the city then relates to that open space. You relate to that open space, and it just draws you right into the city, and then from the city into the buildings and to your enjoyment of participating with those buildings.
Virtually, you've already answered my next question of why. Why pay so much attention to it, given the development seemingly on its own, seemingly by so many younger folk who have gone ahead of us to ensure that it developed?
Well, as strange as this may sound, it really will not. Architecture to me, and the way I teach it at OU as well, is we're kind of the last vestige of the Renaissance. And so the way we look at a city is we look at not just the built environment, but we understand the people, the user, the end user. And we understand that there may be choreography involved between the street, between the landscaping, between the materials that you use, and ultimately between the people and you, the architect. And when you put all of that together, which the humanities, of course, cover all the bases, you come up with something that is lasting. And why not? Why would an architect ever want to do something that is junk or that is poorly constructed? I don't get it. But I strive in all of the work that I've done over the years to meet those criteria. And it's basically just I don't have any choice. I have to do it.
Ted, we got about 45 seconds. And in that 45 seconds or so, could you define for me, do we have untapped places or spaces yet to be dealt with?
In terms of preservation?
Yes.
Yeah, we do. Our train station, for instance, built by R.W. Stevens, who was the architect of the railroad downtown. It's currently needs to be renovated. They're trying to raise money. That's a little scary. The Spotlight Theater, where the Drunkard is performed every Saturday night
Sure.
for eons, it needs some help as well. And Lord bless them, they're trying, but we really need help restoring that because of its place on the river, and it's really an icon of Tulsa as well. And then one other place, I guess, if you really got after it, would be Greenwood Avenue. I
No
really
kidding.
think we owe
Yeah.
it to restore that.
We've got to. Ted, we're out of time. Thank you, and let's do this again.
I would love to. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Appreciate
my
it.
friend. We'll talk more down the road. We're all out
Okay.
of time, folks, and I'm sorry to say we have to go. We'll see you back here next time.